If you didn't think possible nuclear war with Russia and Ukraine was big, well, stand by, because now we got to worry about Pakistan and India. Welcome to the David Rutherford Show. What's up, team? I wanted to put out a little bit of a disclaimer for the show that's being aired on Monday. We recorded it on Friday. Today is actually Saturday. I just saw on X that President Trump and his team have negotiated a ceasefire deal between Pakistan and India. And thank God for that. We feel very blessed that for those people. But we still hope that you tune in and enjoy, because I go very in depth as to the historical realities of what's taking place between these two areas in this conflict area of Kashmir. I also talk extensively about the geopolitical implications in terms of the relationships with us in India, Russia and India, China and Pakistan. And then obviously I talk in depth about the nuclear realities of these two countries. So even though there's a ceasefire, we're not sure how long that will stick, or whether or not terrorist attacks will continue. But for now, we hope you enjoy the information that I provide. Thank you. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. I'm so fired up that you're here. Today's show is something that is a little bit more complex than what we typically deal with, but it's critical to help you gain a greater understanding or a greater appreciation for the recent conflict that has broken out in India and Pakistan. So before we get into my analysis, I just want to read you a quick report of what basically triggered this from happening. An attack occurred on April 22nd, 2025 in Bahasaran Valley near Pahalgam, Jammu and Kashmir, India. 5 armed militants equipped with M4 carbines and AK-47s attacked a group of tourists, killing 26 civilians, mostly Hindu tourists, 1 Christian, 1 local Muslim, and 1 Nepali citizen, and injuring 17. The assault targeted non-Muslim tourists, with reports of selective killings after religious identification. The Resistance Front, TRF, a proxy of the Pakistani-based LET, or Lashkar-e-Taliban, claimed responsibility, citing opposition to non-local settlement post-Kashmir's 2019 status change. Indian authorities linked the attack to Pakistan, alleging involvement of LET operatives and the Inner Services Intelligence, or ISI, of Pakistan. That's their CIA. With digital traces to safe houses in Muzaffarabad and Karachi. All right. So now you know why they started launching missiles at each other, but there's a lot bigger context to what's going on, right? And so before we go into what I believe are the key 3 analysis that you have to kind of take into consideration when you're wondering, all right, how substantial is this? Is it a small regional conflict? Does it break out into a greater regional challenge? Is it going to affect international trade, shipping lanes? Is it going to affect world peace? Or more importantly, is it going to affect a global security? Before I get into that analysis, what's really critical to understand is that this is not a new circumstance. This is not something that just all of a sudden, out of the blue, in a very docile, peace, filled region of the globe, that this took place. This has been going on for a very long time. In fact, what really ignited this came after the British partition of India, or British India, in 1947 on August 15th. Essentially, when a post-World War II was restructuring the map of the world. And so the British Empire decided, well, you know what, we're going to give these people their freedom. We're going to step back, much as a result of the efforts for one of my favorite heroes in history, which is a gentleman by the name of Mahatma Gandhi. If you don't know who he is and you've never studied him, I highly recommend you do a little deep dive, dig into Grok, say, who is Mahatma Gandhi? One of the greatest resistance fighters for peaceful resistance in the history. And he played a major influence on Martin Luther King. This guy was a brilliant man who was educated in Britain as a barrister, and then took on this quest to make India independent. And then from that independence, they broke free. Pakistan broke free. Why? Pretty simple, pretty common in this area as well as around the world. Pakistan is Muslim and India is Hindu, right? So the basis of really this dispute originated over the Kashmir region. And it's in this region where you have those two different religious sects integrated into each other. They live side by side in different settlements, different towns, different cities. And so that really plays a major role. You know, when they first split off, it didn't take very long before conflicts began to break out, you know, and, you know, the partition itself has really been kind of marked by heavy violence ever since it happened, with rough estimates of 200,000 to 2 million casualties and a displacement of 14 million people. All right. Now, when you start to look at those numbers, it's very obvious to me that this is a region that has been strife with conflict ever since that separation. Now, what many people want to go, well, you know, what is the substantial nature of that conflict? And the conflict is not just, you know, these little border skirmishes of, you know, terrorist organizations or British, or I should say Indian military units firing over the border, keeping people back. I mean, you know, the first Kashmir War was in 1947 and 1948. That was triggered by Pakistani tribal incursions. There was the 1965 war, and this conflict began with Pakistan's Operation Gibraltar, which it was an infiltration across the line of control that separates these two, escalating to a 17-day war. Again, in 1971, participated by the Bangladesh Liberation War in East Pakistan, now Bangladesh. This war resulted in Pakistan's surrender of over 90,000 troops and the creation of Bangladesh. There was the 1999 Kargil War, where Pakistani troops and militants infiltrated across the line, or LOC, into the Kargil district, leading to a conflict where India recaptured 75 to 80% of the intruded area. Now, you know, these have been, this region is imbued with conflict. There's just no doubt about it, right? And it all seems to stand behind this one little section. Now, you know, there's also another aspect that took place where China came in and they captured a significant portion of this region that included what they believe were portions of Tibet and the surrounding areas. So now you've got Pakistan, India, and China all kind of in the mix for this particular region. All right. So what is my analysis? All right. So there are three critical aspects of this region that I think would benefit you to understand. First and foremost is kind of the geopolitical aspect of it, right? And why do these countries play such a significant role? Well, first and foremost, Pakistan has over 120 million people, like 99% Islam. And then India is 1.3, 1.4 billion people in India. And that region's broken up into a lot more, but the primary group are Hindus. And so, those two countries have very significant ties to superpowers in the area. Obviously, Pakistan is very connected to China. China utilizes a great portion of this region as an access to the Indian Ocean. There's a bunch of military routes that travel through and work in Pakistan. China also provides with a very substantial number of weapon systems into Pakistan. They also have economic support as well. Now, Pakistan is not a country that has a very substantial economic prowess at all. They do have some natural resources that give them some very viable influence into China, of course. Pakistan also has pretty interesting connections to a lot of the other troublemakers in the region, which originated from a gentleman by the name of A.Q. Khan. A.Q. Khan is known as the grandfather of Pakistan's nuclear program. And the real kind of kicker to that whole thing is that, A.Q. Khan was known for selling his nuclear abilities in his understanding of building nuclear reactors, where he gained in Europe back in the 1970s. Well, anyways, he sold a lot of that information to Iran and North Korea in particular. And so, as we think about the broader impact of the region, Iran plays a significant role with their relation to Pakistan. Now, India, on the other hand, has a very unique position in the world, not only just because of their size and their explosive industrialization. They are a real powerhouse in very different types of development, from the tech region to antibiotics and medicines, to car manufacturing, to different types of industrialization. And India plays a major role in that, in their ability to trade all throughout the world, but in particular in kind of that India, Asia region. So, they also have a profound amount of natural resources that give them a very substantial. Now, their GDP compared to India's is radically different. Now, Jordy, would you look up that for me? Would you look up what the differences between India and Pakistan's GDP for me real quick?
Absolutely. 1 second.
Thank you. So as we think about, India, one of the things that a lot of people don't recognize is that they've got very strong, close ties to Russia, right? Much of India's very much bigger army than Pakistan's has been enabled by Russian missile systems, Russian jets, Russian arms and ammunition. So Russia has played a very significant role in the arming and development of India's military. The other component that you have to understand with Russia and Pakistan, right? Pakistan was a significant conduit to help and support the Mujahideen in the Russia-Afghan war, which really kind of was a proxy war between us and Russia, that we ran through Pakistan and their intelligence services. I've met and known a bunch of guys that actually trained the Mujahideen fighters in Pakistan on different missile systems to take out Russia. So Russia has no love lost for Pakistan at all. So you have the Russia-India, and then most recently, and the most significant thing that's taking place with this geopolitical aspect of this is that Trump just orchestrated a giant deal with India. Now, if you want to think about kind of our geostrategic battle taking place with China, what are the core elements there? First and foremost, it's China dominates, our industrialized. We offshored all of our industrialization over to China for cheap labor, so they control all of our medicines. They control. You remember during COVID what took place, right? The supply routes got shut down because China shut down, and we were put in a very difficult national security problem. So, what's one way to solve that? by strengthening our ties to India, who has a massive workforce that are ready to join the world economy. Now, I know what you're saying. Yeah, but Rut and Holt, what about BRICS? This is where it gets super complicated, right? Now, what is BRICS, right? BRICS is the alliance between Brazil, India, China, Russia, and South Africa, thereby even complicating this thing even more, right? Why are they all together? They want to weaken the American dollar, right? So I know what you're saying. Well, how do you keep track of all this, Coach Rutt? And the hard part is to recognize that much of what takes place in foreign policy, geostrategic policy, you're befriending your enemies in order to gain strength in a particular region. And so there's a lot of that taking place in this. It's very complex. All right. So you've got, Russia, India, you've got China, or Russia, India, America, India, China, Pakistan, Iran, Pakistan, North Korea, Pakistan, going on at the moment. All right. Did you come up with those GDPs?
I sure did. You ready for them?
Yeah, please.
India's is about 3.8 trillion and Pakistan's is about 375 billion. And so it's about 10 times larger than Pakistan. India's about 10 times larger than Pakistan. Do you want to know growth rates or population?
Not populations, but if you could look up the size of the militaries, that'd be great. Okay, sorry about the interruption, but we got to do this to take care of our sponsors. They're the reason why Jordy and I can do this for you. But here's the deal. When I was in Pakistan, and I certainly know India, both those places have the spiciest food on the planet, and I love spicy food. So if you want to turn your food into some awesome spiciness, then go visit Firecracker Farms, right? I love this company so much, not only because I'm friends with the owner and his family, but more so because the product itself is awesome, right? This is a ghost pepper infused salt in these beautiful salt shakers that can take your eggs and take your steak and take your barbecue chicken and turn it up a notch so you get that good fire in your mouth. So what I want you to do is go visit firecracker.farm. Type in the promo code RUT15, that's Romeo Uniform Tango 15, to get your discount so you can start spicing up your food. Booyah. All right. So we heard that the economic difference is monstrous. I mean, it's radically different. So if you have the strategic positioning taking place where America is hedging its bets against Chinese dominance, right? We've seen it with the tariffs that are, if you've done any economic reports, and I'm hoping to bring Bryce Gill back on to give us a real deep dive on the tariffs and how they've been affecting China recently. So we're pay attention to that in the near future on the David Rutherford Show. So you have tariff wars. All right, how do we adjust our ability to temper off China's control and a lot of stuff? Well, we partner with India. Then you have, so what do? They're going to back this skirmish and potentially try and weaken India's abilities and get them focused on this skirmish or conflict. All right. What you got for me in terms of size?
So in terms of the size of India versus Pakistan and their military, the active military personnel, India's got about 1.46 million. Pakistan's got about 654,000. So you're talking about India having twice as many active personnel as Pakistan. And there's a global firepower index in which India ranks 4th globally and Pakistan is ranked 12th.
Okay, that's awesome. All right, next numbers, and have these prepped for me as a little teaser to what's to come. Can you look up their nuclear arsenals for me?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. All right. So now that you have a little bit better understanding of the geostrategic relationships, their positioning in terms of GDP, growth, impacts, natural resources, The next one I want to move into is a real problem. And this is the terrorism issue coming out of Pakistan. Now, I can tell you I have a lot of intimate prior knowledge of that situation. And what makes it particularly difficult is that the United States has had kind of this very, let's say, tricky relationship with the Pakistani ISI. Right after 9/11, with the prime minister, basically, George Bush Jr. reached out and said, listen, we're going to deliver the hammer unless you help us hunt down Al-Qaeda and as well as those who helped him, maybe Mullah Omar. And they shook their head and said, yep, absolutely, all good. And so what we do, we invaded. And I was there not even a year after that. And, we're going after these guys. What a lot of people don't recognize and don't know, and that have come out in a bunch of different post 9/11 kind of early invasion books about that whole situation, was the Pakistani ISI was actually airlifting thousands of Al-Qaeda members and senior Taliban leaders out of Afghanistan into Pakistan. And so as we're trying to go get the job done, the Pakistani government, their CIA, the ISI, was running ops to get these very valuable people, these terrorists, out of Afghanistan and into the protected tribal regions of the Northwest Frontier Province, as well as Baluchistan, which is the east region. And it's kind of an old disputed region. And a lot of people in that area have always wanted Baluchistan to have its own independence. That's where Mullah Omar was, down near Spin Boldak and Quetta. That's where all those routes were going back and forth. And those were the same routes that America used to help get the Mujahideen in attacking the Russians back in the 80s. All right. So, Pakistan for many years was a pretty low key. I'm not going to say low key, but they were certainly not as aggressive as they started to become in the late 70s. The most aggressive in 79, they burned down the embassy, the American embassy. They've, had these terrorist organizations that have been active and played an active role in international terrorism since kind of really the Islamic Revolution took place, right? So you have the ISI that is not only supporting and harboring and funding Al-Qaeda. Let's just get to my next experience where I actually worked in Pakistan when I was at the agency doing a bunch of different things, but at the lead up and after the bin Laden raid. So that's where I really began to understand the massive connection, where I really, I think that shocked the world, the true impact of what Pakistan's hidden Islamists were capable of. Not only, you could argue that they're safe passage for Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and bin Laden, but also being able to fund other events with LET, now this new organization that's springing out of LET. And then you also have the Pakistani Taliban. That's a different organization out there as well. So the LET, all of a sudden in 2008, you had the Mumbai attacks. Now, this is what a fascinating part of this history that people aren't really aware of. You had a woman come back in whose father used to be the prime minister of Pakistan back in the 70s, Bhutto. But then his daughter came back in after being ousted, became the Pakistani PM, which in her whole thing was she's going to try and maybe not democratize as in the way we think about it, but more so open up Pakistan to greater relations with the Western world. Well, she was assassinated by a suicide bomber and was killed. I think it was 2006 when she was blown up. So with the 2006 bombing of her, that reinstituted power and control from the Pakistani military and ISI. I didn't understand the magnitude of that power until I went there and worked in 2011. Now, post her assassination in 2008 was the Mumbai incident. And for me, this was the first time that I really began to pay attention to this Kashmir region. And in that assault, what you had 10 members of LET infiltrated into Mumbai via old school, these little, rafts that they hit the shore, backpacks filled with AKs and grenades. And these men split up and they essentially ended up murdering 166 people in India. They hit a train station that was devastating, just wholesaling, slaughtering people that were cowering in fear. And then they went to, hey, will you look up what the name of the hotel is? The only 5-star hotel that was attacked in the Mumbai incident. I forget what the name was. And then look up how many people died there for me. But they assaulted this hotel and just randomly started killing foreign visitors and people, and then ended up burning the hotel to the ground. Did you find that, Jordy?
So this was at the Taj Mahal Palace and Tower Hotel.
How many people were killed there?
A total of 175 people.
In the hotel and the train, or both?
Yeah, I think it was 175 total.
Okay. So thanks for correcting me on that. 175 total, both at the train, on the street, and then in this hotel. So that really got me to a space where, oh my God, this is a much bigger problem. They utilize these organizations because what the theory is that the ISI trains, equips, and supports these people in their terrorist actions, not only in India, but in the broader area of the region. So you have this terrorism problem, right? And India has had a very difficult time dealing with it. Well, when Modi came into office, 2014, I think, Jordy, we look up, make sure I'm dialed in on that one. When Modi came into office, he changed his, he evolved. He said, nah, we're not going to tolerate this anymore. We're going to rise up and really started to institute a very substantial sense of Hindu nationalism or populism or religious, I don't want to call it religious dogmatism, but, to get behind the fact that they are profoundly Hindu and they should represent that. Was I right on the date on that?
2014.
Yeah, 2014. Thank you, buddy. So now Modi gets in there, starts projecting himself around the world as a very significant leader, in this fight between these two. But yet these guys, they just continue to wreak havoc on them. Now, the other major incident that I want to talk about a little bit was in 2019, the Pulwama attacks in the Jammu and Kashmir region. It was with February 14th, right? This was a suicide bomber on a paramilitary convoy that killed 40 Indian soldiers. And the group was JEM, Jaish-e-Mohammed, and they had claimed responsibility for this. So, these things are ramping up. And every time, they keep going, I think India has had a pretty substantial restraint. Well, they're done. As I would imagine, we would be done as well if we were taking these many terrorist attacks ourselves. So what are they going to do? They're going to launch these strikes. Now, what's taking place in the current engagement is pretty substantial. And what makes this is the final aspect of my evaluation, if you will. And that is the fact that both of these countries have nuclear weapons. Sorry for the interruption, especially in such heavy content, but I really want to make it known for all of our listeners, new and old, that on May 31st on our Patreon account, I will be giving a live motivational event. This is an introduction to the last 30 years of my experiencing, researching, and delivering the motivational concepts that I believe enable people to succeed, and then some insight on what drives failure in the most extreme environments imaginable. So go on over to our Patreon account at David Rutherford Show. It's a $2 monthly subscription fee where we will be giving extra additional content, but most especially where we will be delivering these live motivational events on May 31st, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Thank you. Back to the show. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty over holding my breath as a result of the last several years in Ukraine and Russia and what's taking place there. And in no uncertain terms, all you got to go do is go back to the video and you can watch just about every significant Russian leader said, hey, nuclear weapons are on because we understand who's fueling this. We understand where their weapons are coming from. We understand what's at stake. We understand what's going on. So we're not going to play any games. If you don't curtail any missile attacks or attacks into Russia, Mother Russia, then we are going to be forced to launch a nuclear reaction. Now, I don't know about you, but I certainly I spent enough time listening to people that were not only loosely involved in the Cuban Missile Crisis, but certainly understood and felt the effects of what that was, which was the last time we were very close to nuclear annihilation. Now, what's really been amazing for us in Russia is that assured nuclear deterrence, that assured destruction, knowing that, hey, if you go and we detect, our bombs automatically launch. There's a great book out there. We look up the book. Her name's Anne. She wrote a book on nuclear war. It'll come up. She's been on Joe Rogan. She was on Sean's show. But wrote this really intense, unbelievable book that describes nuclear annihilation. Did you find it?
It's Annie Jacobson's book, Nuclear War, A Scenario.
Annie Jacobson's book, Nuclear War, A Scenario. Do yourself a favor, or that's kind of an odd thing to say, isn't it, Jordy? Maybe not call it a favor, but educate yourself is what I'm saying. And go read that book. And if you're not becoming a ardent anti-nuclear person, nuclear weapons person, then I don't know what will make that. And that's where we're at. These two organizations, these two countries, India and Pakistan, neither one of them have signed the nuclear proliferation agreements. India, however, has stated that we are not a first strike. We're not going to be in that first strike. We will only respond. But Pakistan, man, they're cowboys, right? And if they feel the threat's too high, they could launch that. So nuclear, even if it's a tactical nuclear strike, even if it's small and you take out, let's say, 70 million people, that's still going to initiate a nuclear winter. Because that fallout will, obviously, that radiation is going to get in and around the atmosphere and cover substantial portions of the earth. Did you find out what those numbers were? What are they?
I did. So they're about neck and neck. India has approximately 172 warheads, and Pakistan has approximately 170 warheads. And it should be noted that Pakistan is producing a little bit more per year than India is. So India is slightly ahead, but Pakistan is growing faster.
Both those countries have stated, though, by 2030 or 2020, it was a recent one, like 26, 27 maybe, that they both want to be up to about 400 nuclear devices.
So they want to almost double, or basically double.
Basically a little more than double in the next 3 to 5 years. That's not good. We don't need these types of countries increasing nuclear arsenals, we need a decrease. All right. So now that you have a broader overview, what are my thoughts? What's my opinion? My opinion is that China's already on the horn, calling up their folks in Pakistan and telling them, hey, and halt. Enough of this shit. Stop what you're doing and halt. Enough. Because the disruption to their tactical access, shall we say, to the Indian Ocean, as well as, to their access into both Pakistan, but also more importantly, I think for them into Afghanistan, because they just got all the contracts with for all their rare earth minerals, in particular lithium, which is massive. And then also it gives them a direct conduit to their partners in Iran. So that's another thing. Whereas I would also be willing to say that people within the Trump administration, maybe Mark Rubio or someone, is on the phone with Modi and saying, hey, what the hell are you doing? And halt. We just signed a great agreement. You don't go flexing right now. Let's get you built up. Let's, increase your defenses, increase your military. Let's give you a bunch of other, abilities to shoot down, an anti-missile defense or missile defense system. Let's sell you a couple F-35s or F-16s or whatever it is and slow your roll. Like, chill a little bit. All right. And stop with what you're doing. So, although it seems to be something that could cause and is causing some consternation for the global population, in particular people of the region, I do believe that the influence is so substantial on both of those countries in their current states, particularly the relationship between India and the United States, obviously in Pakistan and China, that this will hopefully be diffused in the next several months. I think in these regions, there's a lot of saber rattling, so people don't lose face. But I definitely don't think this is going to escalate. Now, making predictions like that, not always the best thing to do. Next thing you know, people will start, if I get too many of these wrong, people will start calling me the Jim Cramer of national security. And God, I don't want that moniker. So I hope this has been informative to you. I really hope that it's enabled you to get a broader spectrum of what's taking place. You remember, that's really our job on the David Rutherford Show. I said that from the beginning. You're always under this tsunami of inflammation, right? That's my body. You're under this tsunami of information coming at you from all different aspects. And you really don't have that much time. So hopefully I was able to consolidate that, and looks like we're right around, 40 minutes. Is that where we're at right now?
Yeah, just about.
All right, man. So can't thank you enough. What I'd love for you to do, though, we don't ask this a lot. If you could please just like, subscribe, leave a comment to this show, or better yet, what really means the most to us is share it with a friend. We would appreciate that beyond measure. We really appreciate all of you, especially the audience that we're getting by the tens of thousands from the Clay and Buck show. I know I did a hit with them on Friday. I hope you enjoyed it. I know you really weren't there for my my national security assessment. You were there for my take on 100 Navy SEALs, or as I think it would only take 17 Navy SEALs taking on a gorilla. I know that's why you're here, but we're so happy to have you. Jordy and I feel so incredibly blessed with this opportunity, and we promise you a continued deliverable of this type of content that hopefully gets you informed and allows you to have a greater understanding of what's taking place around the world. So again, follow us on all the major platforms out there. Follow us on all the audio, Apple, Spotify, iHeartMedia app. Like, comment, share. And then you can also find us on X at D Rutherford Show. You can find us on TikTok. You can at the David Rutherford Show and on Instagram, Facebook at the David Rutherford Show. And if you're interested in giving me a follow, I'm on X and Instagram at Team Frog Logic. David Rutherford at Team Frog Logic. So, all right, Jordy.
All right.
We knocked another one out of the park, and I just want to thank you because I finally woke up and started to realize, my God, I have the best executive producer in the business just sitting there waiting to help me as I fought as I get through this. So thank you so much, brother. All right, everybody. God bless you. Take care.